everybody, and welcome to another Spotlight on Middle Country. My name is Lenore Paprocki, and I'm the president of the Greater Middle Country Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Sal DiVincenzo here at the Miller Business Center.
Terrific. Thanks for being here with me, Sal. And I am so excited to introduce someone who I've actually known for a very long time. He is a self-made entrepreneur, and I take a lot of that credit. No, I'm looking. I'd like to introduce to you all Gino Veneroso from Elevated Media. It's a drone company, and I'm going to learn so much today, Sal. We're going to
Very
learn
cool.
because it's
Very
drones,
cool.
and I don't know anything. I'm so not tech savvy. So I'm so excited to hear from Gino. Gino, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lenore. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Sal, for having me as a guest today.
Terrific.
Sure.
So, Gino, why don't you just start off and, I know you got a long story. And I love your story because I was part of it, but that's okay.
Great.
Why don't you tell us how you got involved with drones? Because that's a new piece of the story I don't know. Maybe if there's time, 10 minutes goes like this, Gino.
That
So
goes by quick,
we
right?
may not have time for that. Maybe we'll have
Yes.
part two. But go ahead and tell us how you got involved with drones.
Sure. Well, thanks again, guys, for having me today. My name's Gino Veneroso. I'm the owner of Elevated Media, and yes, Lenore and my story goes way back, way back. I think Lenore was my first sales job here on Long Island, my first internship, actually, I should say, when I walked into her hotel, not knowing anything about the hotel. I think what it was 2009, and I introduced myself, and out comes walking out Lenore, and I had an opportunity to get to work with her, and just a year or so later, after that, I became the sales manager there. So it's awesome to kind of reconnect with you, Lenore. And the question of how I got into drones. Yes, I started my professional career in hospitality. Shortly after that, I stepped into healthcare, and I became the healthcare proxy for my mom, and I got into the senior living space. And anybody who has worked in healthcare knows that burnout is real, especially during the COVID days. When you are working 60 to 70 hours a week, and your day consists of being in and out of hospitals and working with frontline staff. By the end of that week, you're a bit exhausted. And for me, the way that I would sort of battle that exhaustion, at the time, I was not a licensed pilot like I am today, but I did own a drone. And when I would come home, I would always drive around with a drone in my trunk. And as a way to kind of kill that stress, the exhaustion from the day, I would go to, let's say, a nearby beach on Long Island, could be Cedar Beach or wherever. And the moment that I took that drone out and I fired it up, and then all of a sudden you saw the propellers begin to, churn and rotate. And then I had this really beautiful LCD 4K screen so you could see what the drone would see. And so, that would come up. And then as soon as I ignited it and the drone would literally just descend, it didn't matter what I went through that day, that week, whatever stress I may be carrying, all of a sudden my physiology just literally transformed. My shoulders would go back, my face would relax, my jaw loosened, and I was literally able to breathe again for the first time, since, in a long time. And in that moment, I became hooked. And, after smashing 3 or 4 drones, I decided that this is an expensive sport and a dangerous sport. So I made the decision that I was going to educate myself. And at first, I was motivated by making the money back because, I lost a couple $1,000 smashing these drones. The good drones cost over 1,000. And again, I wrecked them, and I didn't know enough to get insurance at the time. So I did some research, and I found out, look, if you want to make money, there's money to be made in this industry. And at the time, when I first, took interest in flying, the global marketplace for drones at that time was generating $74 billion throughout the globe. And then I dig a little deeper and I found out by 2030, that was expected to grow 30% annually to 163 billion by 2030. And I'm like, this is good stuff. I got to see how to, position myself for, success in this new industry. And so I went and I got my what's called a Part 107A license. Anybody that knows flying, a Part 107A license simply gives you knowledge about the national airspace. So literally, people don't know this, but when you fly a drone, you're operating in what's called Class A, Class B, Class C, or Class D airspace, and it is incumbent on us. It is our duty and obligation to find out which airspace we're operating in, and then we have to get authorization to fly. I never knew that. But if you're doing it commercially, that's what you have to do. So I went through that process, and fast forward a couple years later, now we have real estate clients, development clients. We have social media influencers that reach out to us and they want to do monthly engagement projects to increase their views and their exposure online. So it all started off as just a passion and a hobby. And now it actually, has become a business where we're able to add value to people.
That's amazing. What a
That is
story.
amazing.
So, isn't that amazing? So,
Yeah.
when you were describing how you felt and that it helped you de-stress, I thought to myself, yeah, I bet. To me, I look at what you described, and you described it so wonderfully. I really had a vision in my head that it was more like almost like experiencing that freedom, the breath of fresh air from everything else, because you can really go up and look at the earth with a very different focus point. Is that what you,
100%.
because that's what I felt when you described it.
I'm so happy that you felt that because you're spot on. Your experience of it is what I experience, and when we change our focus, we change how we feel. And I'm not sure if there's any pilots as part of the chamber, but when you're flying something like that, you got to really just focus on the flight. You're hyper focused on the flight, and you're gonna be hyper aware. And so yeah, that forces you to delete anything else in the background. And so in a way, it was almost like a form of meditation. you know.
Yeah.
And then yes, you're up there and it's rejuvenating to see the ground and literally change your perspective from 400 feet above ground level and get to see the waves and the ocean and the beach. And yeah, for 15, 20 minutes, you get to forget about your problems.
Yeah. So Gino, question for you. When you are flying,
Yes.
and you're in a class B or C airspace, one of these more controlled airspaces, do you have to contact the tower or air traffic control?
Yes, there's actually there's a system that was just released, which is called the low altitude authorization system. And from that, we don't. It actually streamlines the process. So there is an online version. Through this online version of like a notification, we're able to submit a request to fly. It's called a NOTAM. It's a notice to airmen. And granted, if you could show that you're a pilot and you have your pilot number, they'll give you access. So that's the proper way to do it. That's the
Excellent.
legal way to do it.
Yeah, that's wild. Wild.
But before you would have to call, there was a 1-800 number that you would have to call each time, but now they've streamlined it.
So you're up there flying with everybody else, all the
You
commercial
are,
jets and the private planes and everything.
I mean, we don't go that high. I guess technically you can, but there's a ceiling height to how far or how high you could
Mhm.
fly, which is 400 feet above ground level.
Okay.
So it's pretty high.
Yeah.
So I can't believe we're almost coming to the end. It's crazy how that happens. I tell you, 10 minutes go so fast. This was so interesting. Sal, why don't you ask the question you always
Yes,
ask?
the question that we love asking here on the show is why did you become a chamber member?
Well, I've been part of the community since 2007 when I first moved to Long Island from upstate New York. And obviously, the relationship that I've had with Lenore over the past 15 years, 16, 17 years, maybe now,
Wow.
and knowing what she does and her dedication and commitment to businesses moving forward and community service, and then learning that she was the president of the chamber, it's really a no-brainer, for me to be on board and support, my backyard and support Lenore and all the, community services like the library that's available to us here in the Middle Country. I'm excited to continue to learn and explore because I feel like there's so many more resources I've yet to discover.
It's terrific. Thank you, Gino. That's very sweet. So, Gino, since we're coming to the end, can you tell everybody how they're going to reach out to you for Elevated Media? How do they hire you for the drone? What's the best way to get you?
Sure. So, obviously we have a website. It's www.elevatednymedia.com. So elevatednymedia.com. And then I could also give my telephone number. Um, and my telephone number is 631-682-9103. That's 631-682-9103. That's my personal cell phone number.
Wow. You're,
Yes,
that's
The
huge. You're giving
service,
out your
the
personal.
service that you're getting
absolutely.
here.
Talk
Absolutely. So you
about
can
that,
contact me
right?
directly. No middleman here.
That's fabulous. Well, we are at the end. I do appreciate the time, Gino, and I can't wait to learn more about it. I know that you're our speaker for the May meeting, for our May chamber meeting. Looking forward to that to learn more about it. That will be at the library. It's always the third Tuesday of every month, and it's at the Middle Country Library in Centereach. At 12 o'clock. So, chamber members, you're all welcome. Put it on your calendar. Come on down. Looking forward to it. Gino, thank you so much for being here. And it was a lot of fun. Time goes way too fast.
It
Sal,
does.
thank you so much for hosting this again.
Thank you.
And listen, we'll see you next time on Spotlight on Middle Country. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.